Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Yeager, and thanks again for listening to our Full Circle podcast. Should my dog be eating that? A common question apprehensively contemplated in the minds of nearly every pet owner at some point, especially around the holidays. This time of year, more goodies whipped up in the kitchen mistakenly fall to the floor and are quickly whisked away by your four-legged vacuum cleaner. Having the gaggle of relatives and friends over for festive holiday parties consumes your attention, leaving the family dog up to their own devices. This can spell disaster for your pet. There are a lot of potentially toxic substances out there. Anything can be toxic. It is all contingent on how much of a substance is needed to cause toxicity. As a matter of fact, even water can be toxic. Excessive water consumption can cause cerebral edema or swelling of the brain, and this can be lethal. Of course, achieving water-induced toxicity is pretty difficult to do. You would need to consume several liters of water in a short amount of time, but it can happen. Even though there are many things your pet can manage to get into this holiday season, I'm going to share with you my top 5 holiday toxins every pet owner should know about, why they are toxic, and what you should do if your pet consumes them. Toxin number 1, chocolate. Chocolate toxicity is probably the most frequently reported toxicity in dogs year-round. The Animal Poison Control Center averages about 22 calls per day on chocolate alone, but is especially common around major holidays like Christmas and Easter. Whether it's in a wrapper, hidden in a stocking, or laying out in a festive bowl on the coffee table, you, and also your dog, may be tempted for a taste. While we can indulge, our dogs simply cannot. All types of chocolate are potentially toxic, including white chocolate, as they all are comprised of varying levels of cocoa, and cocoa contains a stimulant called theobromine. The darker the chocolate, the more theobromine it contains, making dark chocolate potentially more toxic than milk chocolate, depending on how much was consumed. Theobromine can be toxic in dogs because it is not metabolized as quickly in their livers as it is in humans. Dog livers take about twice as long to metabolize theobromine than humans do, so it sits around in their bloodstream longer, causing gastrointestinal disturbances and can lead to seizures if left untreated. Toxin number 2, raisins. These fruits often make their way into a variety of holiday cakes, fruitcakes especially, cookies, stuffing, and other holiday delights, leaving the pet owner scratching their heads when asked by the vet as to how many raisins were in the dessert at the dinner party that night the family dog happened to gobble down while left unattended in the kitchen. Raisins, through some unknown mechanism, can cause kidney failure in dogs, and has been stumping veterinarians for years. It only takes a small amount to cause toxicity. For instance, a tiny 1.5-ounce snack box of raisins is enough to be potentially problematic in a 30-pound dog. And not all dogs that consume raisins will develop kidney issues. It all depends on how many raisins were consumed and how much the dog weighs. Toxin number 3, poinsettia plants. These guys have gotten a really bad reputation over the years, but they aren't really something to get your tinsel on a twist about. Contrary to popular belief, poinsettias aren't actually as toxic as they are made out to be. It is a common misconception that poinsettia plants are lethal. They really aren't. They do contain mildly irritating sap from their leaves that may cause some minor gastrointestinal upset or irritation around the mouth, but it seldom requires treatment and will usually just resolve on its own. Toxin number 4, antifreeze. This is an oddball, but a quite commonly reported toxicity during the winter season as people top off their antifreeze levels in their vehicles. Suddenly, Grandma calls on the phone, or the neighbor drops by with Christmas cookies, and you forget to close the top off to the antifreeze jug as you hurry over to answer the phone or get the door. The active ingredient in antifreeze is a substance called ethylene glycol. Ethylene glycol damages the kidneys by acting as a magnet for calcium. As it enters into the bloodstream, calcium latches onto it, and eventually, through a complex system of biochemical processes, creates calcium oxalate crystals, which become lodged in the kidney. This process happens very quickly, in just a matter of hours. Why in the world would a dog be interested in antifreeze? Well, aside from some dogs just being naturally curious, ethylene glycol actually has a sweet taste to it, although I've never sampled some myself, making it attractive to any dog, nosy or not. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, any amount of ethylene glycol consumed is potentially serious. Even a small amount can cause real damage. Your veterinarian will confirm ethylene glycol toxicity by taking a sample of your dog's urine and looking for the presence of specific crystals under a microscope. Toxin number 5, electrocution. Didn't see this coming, did you? While this is not exactly a toxin per se, with all the festive lights aglow, the threat of electrocution always looms during the holiday season. A swift chomp through the Christmas tree lights can result in serious burns around the tongue, lips, and gums. Not to mention, an electric shock can be fatal. So what should you do if your pet has been exposed to any of the above? Please refrain from trying to treat your pet at home and call your local veterinarian, or you can call the Animal Poison Control Center hotline, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-888-426-4435. There is a $65 consultation fee for the call. A link to their website is provided at the end of this podcast. Just as a reminder, this content is strictly for informational purposes only. It does not replace advice or judgment by your local veterinarian. Please see a licensed veterinarian in your area for all veterinary-related issues. Have a safe and wonderful holiday season with your pet, and as always, be sure to give that four-legged friend of yours a big holiday hug for me. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.